Hello, I'm Dustin and this is Mystery Shop Tour 2020. Why the mystery? Because nobody online's ever seen my shop before. Well, it's because I've never made a video before. And because of that, I'm going to try to keep this short because who wants to watch some guy they've never seen before talk about his shop for 30 minutes? As you can see behind me, this really isn't much of a shop just yet. And that's because after 20 years of moving back and forth across the country, I retired from the military, settled down back near family, and my wife and I finally bought our forever home. With that in mind, the shop tour will be a brief description of the space we're working with, all the tools out here that need to find a home, and what our current plans are for putting this place together. This building is a 30 by 24 detached 3-car garage, so about 700 square feet. It has 9-foot ceilings, 2 garage doors, is fully insulated, has half-inch plywood on the walls and ceiling, and an 18,000 BTU mini split cassette mounted in the center of the ceiling for heat and air. So we're very fortunate to have a great canvas, so to speak, to put our shop together in. The idea we have is to keep the shop on the far 2/3 of the building, so about 18 by 22, and then leave the space in front of the small garage door open. This will give us an open area to pull vehicles in for maintenance or to pull them in and keep them out of the weather, a space for large assemblies like kitchen cabinets or bed frames. And we're going to put tracks in that part of the ceiling for a spray booth curtain that can quickly be pulled out when you need it because, as we all know, if it doesn't go up very quickly and easily, it's probably not going to be used. Taking a look to that side of the shop, you can see our wonky TV. I need to pull it down and rebuild the bracket as it's off just a little bit, but that's what you get for under 10 bucks. Then the door and only window of the shop are located on that wall. To the left and right of the television will be bookshelves that go from one end to the other, so the hundreds of books and magazines we've acquired over the years have a permanent home. Then over here are the 50, 30, and 20 amp 220 connections for the welder, powder coat oven, and whatever else we may need it for. Wi-Fi doesn't reach from the house, so we've brought a fiber optic cable back to the shop, which comes to this Ubiquiti Unify switch, and then to an access point on the far wall for Wi-Fi. Because in 2020, what shop isn't complete without internet access? Coming around to the woodworking side of the shop, you can see all the kitchen cabinets. The initial idea was to throw these up temporarily to store everything while we worked on some of the mini house projects. But they are now full and this place is still covered in tools. So the next project will be an 18-foot miter station along this back wall. It'll have about 50 drawers and be home for the miter saw, radial arm saw, lathe, grinder, spindle sander, and 12-inch disc sander. We'll also be mounting the dust collector to this back wall as well and have it piped to all the stationary tools. And by the way, if you want to know how to go about having 6-inch PVC Ys and connections for about $1 a piece, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, because here in the future I'll make a video about that, as well as a video on how to make fully automated blast gates for just a few dollars a piece. I should go ahead and mention now that with moving all over, these tools have spent a lot of time in storage and have been neglected. Over time, we'll go through each one of them and restore them back to how they once were. So please, just keep that in mind. Over along the side wall will be home to the router table, belt sander, drill press, and maybe the scroll saw. We're not quite sure where that should go just yet. We also plan on hanging all our clamps on this wall, which needs to happen soon because I keep cannibalizing lumber off this cart and it's about to fall over. The remaining tools will be spaced out here in the open. The table saw about here so we can outfeed into the open space. The assembly table is behind the table saw and is the same height so that longer stock can be fed right over the top when using the table saw. At some point, this table will be rebuilt to better fit this space. To the left of the table saw and sitting at an angle to it will be the joiner and planer back to back. The planer is currently on a hardware storage stand I made years ago. It has worked well, but I'd like to move all that to the miter saw station and then build a bench with a long bed to eliminate snipe, and then have a built-in chip collector so that way we're not filling up the main container on the wall all the time. Then finally in this space here will be the bandsaw, and right next to it the CNC. It's a home-built machine based on plans Dave Gatton used to give out some years back. I don't think the plans are available anymore, but Dave does produce some awesome kits, and I'll put a link to those below. Believe it or not, I initially built this using just a jigsaw and corded drill in just a few evenings after work, proving you don't need much to make a pretty awesome machine. So there's a lot of work to be done out here in the shop, and as you can imagine, a lot of projects to be done in the house. Some of those include built-in storage desks in the office, custom-built French doors to close off the office, under-sink water chiller made from an old mini fridge, a raised entryway in from the garage, a new half bath in the basement, and a built-in playhouse, and that's just to name a few. So if you're interested in seeing how those projects come along, I'll post a link to my Instagram in the description below where I post updates. And of course, like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to see more videos. Oh, and I promise to fix the audio in future videos. Thank you all. I hope you've had a happy holiday and have a great new year.